Alright you guys, welcome back to another video. And today we are looking at the Castra system. Now, in the last video we looked at Nix, and I really like what CIG are doing with this star system. It seems to be like kind of a lighter version of Pyro. Only 2 planets, an asteroid belt with a lot of mining opportunities, Vandal raids with PvE opportunities, and then it has a primary faction and a primary landing zone. It also has a good amount of jump points to other star systems. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for the more advanced player, but not quite PvPer. So it seems like a pretty good option for a lot of players. Now, Castra is a bit of a different story, and we're going to get into that in today's video. So without further ado, let's check out what the Castra system is all about.
So we're back in the height of the human-Xi'an Cold War. Tensions were at breaking point. In 2542, Armistead Perry introduced a designation line for a group of 8 planetary systems that marked the borderlands between Xi'an and human-controlled space. The United Planets of Earth designated the systems as no-fly zones and utilizing them as military staging grounds. But one system on the Perry line offered a key strategic position for a potential invasion into the...
Okay, so this is another thing that's kind of interesting. So I kind of just wanted to pause it here real quick. I know as he was explaining this, but something that I didn't really get to take a great look at earlier was, kind of the connections between these different star systems. So we can see here that he's about to announce that this is Castra, and it is directly connected to Pyro and Oso, right? And then it is also connected to Nix and Hadrian. I believe that, that's how these lines here work. And so you have, these star systems here, the Perry line, that kind of separates, UEE controlled space and Xi'an controlled space over here in the green. So if this is Pyro, this is Magnus and Terra, I think it's pretty safe to assume that this right here is Stanton, right? So Terra is also directly connected to Pyro. Of course, Stanton, Magnus, Hadrian. So I don't know if you guys want to, look over this or anything like that. Again, I'll leave this video linked in the video description below so we can take a look at it. But let's get right back into it.
The Xi'an Empire. And that system was Castra. But luckily for us, war was averted, the Perry Pact was signed, which was a peace treaty between the now UEE and the Xi'an Empire, so the Cold War ended. The systems of the Perry Line were divided up between humans and Xi'an, and fast forward back to present day, humans and the Xi'an enjoy a more prosperous relations, and everyone's cool. So, the 4th system will be Castra. History lesson's over, so let's jump in and find out a little bit more. First we have Castra 1. Here it is. Castra 1 is a dead, coreless planet because it's too close to the sun to be terraformed for human habitation. So instead, the UEE Navy used Castra 1 for target practice, giving it the nickname of Bullseye. All the weapon testing throughout the Mesa era has left Bullseye covered in craters. And as you can see, it's super toxic, meaning ground exploration will require high-end environment suits. And as you saw in the weather demo, raging storms will create difficulty of access, giving risk and rewards for adventurers seeking unique minables and other items. Okay.
So that's another interesting factoid right there, is that Bullseye is going to have the weather tech that they showed off in their Genesis presentation. So it's going to be very difficult to land there. Also, of course, it's going to have very varied terrain with a lot of craters from the weapons testing. It's essentially a firing range for the UEE military. Now, what's interesting here is that he kind of mentions unique minables. Okay, so this is going to be another potentially interesting mining location. So there might be gameplay here where, you know, the minables at Castra 1 Bullseye is you know, elements or minerals that you can't find anywhere else, and so there is that high risk, high reward balance there that players can risk going to that planet to trade and make money. But of course, this is in a UEE controlled star system, so it's safer from that aspect, but you have, again, the environmental dangers that probably make this location very difficult to mine and to essentially control. It's going to be different again from a place like Pyro because it's UEE controlled. Access to pirates or probably people who don't have citizenship, you're probably not going to be able to build a base on Castra 1 if you're not a citizen. So more than likely, you're probably going to have to do the whole main story, become a citizen, then you might be able to get land on Castra 1 to build a base and mine whatever resources is there. Or you might, you know, need some type of credentials to go there to get the valuable resources. So that is a pretty interesting difference in the gameplay between Pyro. Pyro's lawless, so it's very difficult to get the resources there. But on the other end of the spectrum, Castra is a mainline UEE controlled star system, so there'll probably be restrictions to really who has access to take advantage of Castra 1. So again, really interesting gameplay opportunities with this star system, and it might be one of those situations where you might need that reputation and citizenship to be able to build a base there. Now, I don't know if you'll need any of those credentials to just to mine there, but it might be difficult again because of the weather and environmental hazards.
Then we have Castra 2. The second planet from the sun is called Cascom. And this was the location of the military's staging area.
All right.
Since the system was opened up to non-military settlement, it has since become a center of trade and tourism, but is still considered an Earth-centric traditionalist system, which prizes citizenship above all else. Let's head down to the surface and check it out.
I'm going to stop for a second here. Now, something interesting that he said is that this is a traditionalist UEE society that prides citizenship above all else. Again, so it might be one of those situations where you might be required to have that reputation to really take full advantage of this planet, this landing zone. Again, CIG said that citizens have the ability to purchase land in different places, so you might need to be a citizen to purchase land on this specific planet. So again, because Stanton is corporate owned, you might not need citizenship to purchase land in Stanton, but you'll probably need citizenship to purchase land in Castra and Terra. Okay, and then of course you don't need to purchase land in Pyro or Nyx because they're not affiliated star systems, the outlaw star systems. So again, you really have to weigh what you want to do. Again, if you want to be a pirate or outlaw, this probably isn't going to be the star system for you, because you know, you're going to need to get to the mainline story. You're going to need to be a citizen before you can buy land here, and you're more than likely going to have to pay taxes on top of that for protection. But let's keep going.
You'll find a landscape full of Great Lakes and lush crimson forests. And as you saw in the CTG presentation, you can see how we're going to make these worlds with the new technology. High up on the mountain range, here at the highest peak, we can just make out the landing zone called Sherman.
Very cool looking.
Which is fondly known by its residents as the island in the sky. Sherman is currently in pre-production, but I wanted to take the opportunity to show at least a sneak peek. Let's take a look.
All right, so before he gets into it, I just want to say that Pedro absolutely outdid himself for the music on this one. It sounds amazing. Again, I cannot say enough how lucky we are to have him as the composer for this game. The music here is going to be absolutely iconic. Now, moving into the architecture. Again, CIG really knocked it out of the park on this one. I think it's really good how CIG is focusing on creating specific design languages for each landing zone. You think about each landing zone and they each have their iconic silhouettes, whether it's the apartments at Microtech, the Hurston Tower, the floating platforms of Orison. Now we have this giant starport of Sherman. This again is a very iconic skyline, and CIG doing that for every major landing zone here really sells that you're in a new place. That is good. That's what's going to make this game feel really big. You don't want to go from one planet to the next planet and feel like you're kind of in the same place. You want to feel like you've been completely teleported to somewhere new. And I think that this landing zone really sells that, from the red surface of the planet to the brand new architecture of the buildings. Now, this again is going to be a UEE controlled location, but what I like about it is that it has those facilities for larger capital ships, and that's something that most other landing zones don't really have. Austin has that a little bit, but it's really cool to see it here with Sherman. So, you know, if you have those larger ships, military ships, maybe mercenary orgs who have their large ships are probably going to like having Sherman as their main base of operations, or their main landing zone, make their home here. Because again, the way that CIG has positioned it is that if you are a mercenary with a particular guild, you become the enemy of the council, which is the criminal guild. So if you're the good guys, you're going to want to live where the good guys are. You're going to want, your UEE citizenship. You're going to want to be in a location where there is a lot of resources for those UEE people. So more than likely, the bad guys, the people who decide to go with the council, are going to be in Pyro and Nyx, and the good guys going to be over here in Castra on Sherman. They're probably going to make their home base here. So again, if you're thinking about being a good guy, you're mercenary, working for the UEE, the CDF, all that stuff, Castra might be a very interesting star system for you. Now let's get into the details about this location.
Mark, you see in the center is Spaceport Ulysses, named after the mountain Sherman is sitting on. This is where they staged the bombers that were on active rotation, waiting on any sign of any aggression. But now it's mostly a commercial spaceport. The Navy still has an airbase here, but it's a great place to see some big ships of the UEE. Commercial hangars are located inside the main trench, and even though this is a converted from a naval base, it still has an impressive military flavor. And speaking of military flavor, the original AOV-9's anti-orbital cannons are still present around the defensive walls, with most of them being decommissioned once it became a civilian city. Over to the left of the spaceport is the Sparrows Industrial Park, home to the sprawling cargo yards and manufacturing plants. The Sparrows has evolved from its days as a military supply and munitions depot into a bustling and modern industrial park. To the right side of the spaceport is Fort Riggs, which originally used to house the Army when Sherman was used as a staging point for a potential ground assault of the Xi'an Empire. Since the area was decommissioned, it has now been turned into a business park and is the Governmental Center of CASCOM, with the Governor's Council headquarters located here.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the place where it's got administration and all that stuff. Um, Usually in Star Citizen landing zones, they kind of divide them up into, smaller sections where you have, habitation, medical, shopping, you have like maybe a convention center and then the spaceport. It looks like CAG is spreading this out a little bit more to have less kind of no-fly zone areas and more actual tactile areas where you can go. Most of the cities are kind of off limit. They're not really places that you can interact with, and there aren't really things to do. So it seems to me that this landing zone is going to have a little bit more actual accessible locations that we can go to versus the older landing zones. And that, in my opinion, is seems like it's going to be pretty exciting for Terra. Again, uh, we'll kind of talk about that in a future video, but if CAG is planning to make these landing zones more useful, I feel like that is going to be very exciting for gameplay.
As this base was built during the Mesa era, as humans were expanding their borders, this introduces a new architectural style for humans. Between the First Travarian War on one front and the Xi'an Cold War on the other, a new style called Henoism arose. With an emphasis on prefabrication and fortification, the designs were robust, durable against warfare and harsh enemies and harsh environments. And from all the locations we just saw, high up on the upper wall, you can see the commercial district, and specifically the Ansel shopping complex. Situated high above the sprawling main base below, the Ansel area originally served as the command center to Sherman's military operations. Inside this building, you'll find key areas like the Edge of Oblivion Bar, which was converted from the old officers' lounge. You'll also find Eckhart Security Headquarters, and you'll find the Mercenary Guild Headquarters. The other areas in the commercial district include the OPA towers for habitation. That's the building on the left. And on the right, it's the Imperial Sherman Infirmary. There's also the Reeves Military Museum, where you can experience the history of humanity's military.
Okay, so it looks like this is the habitation. Yeah, this is the habitation building here. Looks like this is the museum. You've got your shops and the bar. Then you have like the medical area over here where you see, this kind of plus sign. And you've got a walkway down here on the bottom, kind of like a viewing area. Walkways all around. You'll be able to walk around the decommissioned guns. Looks like it's got a statue here. Looks like a great, overview location for screenshots and all that stuff. This is nice because everything is kind of in one area, you know. Even a lot of other landing zones, kind of you feel like you could kind of get lost around them, especially Lawville. Austin's not too bad. Microtech, a lot of people like it because again, it's very easy. You walk right out of the Habs, the hospital's right there, and then you go down the trams right there to go to the spaceport. That's why a lot of people like Microtech. Yeah, and then ArchCorp can be confusing for a lot of new players, but honestly, it's not that bad, because it's just kind of like separated in different zones, but everything's still pretty close together. What I like about this is it seems very linear. You walk right out of the hab, and you turn left, and everything is right there. I don't know what the transportation in this city is going to be like based on what we've seen so far. Again, in Microtech, we have kind of that the subway there. Same thing with Houston. We have the like hover rail. Then we have the cars in ArchCorp, the flying cars in ArchCorp, and the flying cars in Austin. So I'm not entirely sure how we're gonna get from this area to the spaceport to the administration district. Maybe it has like kind of like an underground subway again, like Houston. You kind of go down there and a tram takes you around. Um, but this looks like a very good location to kind of make your home base.
and the role that Castra has played in keeping the Empire safe. And finally, we have Overlook Point, which is the name of the vantage point and park situated in front of Central Command, which has the best view overlooking the landing zone. So that's a quick overview of some of the key areas of Sherman. I think it's devastatingly beautiful, with a rich history and unique mood and vibe.
So we could also take a look at this picture here. So the area that we just saw with the habs and stuff, that is to the left. If you're looking here, you could see this is the main spaceport there. Then there are additional hangars here and here, where you have the large orbital guns there. So this main area where you're gonna have on the right, that's gonna be like a cargo area. You know, might have refineries and stuff like that. Trading's going on. I like that. I kind of said in a lot of the other landing zones that it would be interesting to have kind of like a separate spaceport that's just dedicated to trade. So that's going to be interesting to have that over there. Austin has a very similar setup where it has kind of like that area on the side where they build the ships, the shipyard and whatnot. So this looks like it has like a district or a zone that's kind of like that. And then honestly, right below you is that that business district, the administration area. That again, this area looks like it's going to be fully interactable. I don't know if you'll be able to enter in all these buildings and, you know, if they'll be populated or anything like that, but looks like you'll at least be able to walk around outside there and outside here. So far it seems like a very cool location with a great view. So what do I think of this landing zone? Well, I think CIG did a great job with the music, the architecture, the storyline. I'm very interested in the backstory of this location. I think it's good because it's a small star system, kind of a good comparison to Nyx. You have the small outlaw system, and then you have the small lawful system, and Castra's kind of like that small lawful system. I think that a lot of good guy orgs, mercenary orgs, might be interested in making this star system their home base. This is going to be a star system that's probably going to require you to be a citizen to purchase land here. You're probably going to need some type of good reputation to have access to all of its facilities. You're going to be able to take your capital ships and land and dock them here. So that's going to be really important for, again, a lot of those larger mercenary organizations. You're going to have a heavy UEE presence at this location. Again, this seems like this is for the combat player that's looking for a star system that is kind of on the good end of the spectrum. Somebody who wants to maybe protect miners and salvagers and do that type of gameplay and kind of take missions that go against the bad guys, the outlaws, the council. Different MMOs have areas of the map where this is the orc territory and this is the paladin territory, whatever. I think Castra is going to be a little bit of that, and Nyx and Pyro is going to be a little bit of the bad guy stuff. So I think the way CIG is setting it up is very interesting. I think it's going to create a very interesting dynamic in the player base, where you can go, what you can do, and I'm really all for that. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. This was a very cool showcase of a very cool location, but there's a lot of stuff for us to cover from CitizenCon, so stay tuned for more of the videos. I want to thank you guys for commenting and subscribing. You guys have been supporting the channel so much, and I really appreciate that. But like I always say, at the end of these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salut!